I'm ready for my millions of views now, Mr. DeMille. Okay, we're here. Hi, how's it going? The bags under my eyes will need to be checked at the gate. Beat you to it, so I'm tired. Welcome back to my channel. If you've never been here before, I'm tired, but that's not stopping me, and don't let it stop you either. Nothing can stop you. You are a force to be reckoned with. What? Thank you for anyone who came to my live stream last night. It was 2 hours of just pure fun and debauchery. I'm going to start doing those weekly on Friday nights at varying times. I look ghastly. So yesterday when I was in a Target parking lot on a 90-degree day, I skimmed through this article that my friends had sent me, well, sent to our group chat. BuzzFeed article dedicated to Gabbie Hanna and why people don't like her. And at first glance, in my first read through, I really didn't see a lot wrong with it on the author's end. A lot of information was kind of missing, but in a way that was sort of passive to me. And I knew that I wanted to make a video about it because there were some things that like I noted while I was reading that Gabbie had said, or that was said about Gabbie, that I actually really thought were important to talk about.
However,
upon second read, this article made me mad from sort of the moment I started rereading it. So maybe it was the heat, maybe it was the high of getting out of Target, I don't know. But the first time I read it, it felt a lot less aggravating to read. So I am going to do this the old-fashioned way. And when I say the old-fashioned way, I mean basically I'm going to do this the way that Aliza Easy does because she is the lizard queen. I'm going to read this article to you and we are going to break it down piece by piece by piece by piece by piece. And we're going to talk about all the things that are wrong with it. Oh, well, hopefully. I'm sure I'll miss some, but you can let me know in the comments. And we're just going to kind of talk about it because I have some feelings, and I know a lot of other people have feelings too. So if you have feelings, that's what the comment section is for. Let's have feelings together, okay? So this article on BuzzFeed is called, "Why is everyone so mad at Gabbie Hanna?" That's a really open-ended question. It has a lot of answers. This article is written by a BuzzFeed news reporter whose name I'm going to butcher, and I apologize in advance. Scotchy Cool. I'm sure I butchered that to some degree. I apologize. The blurb at the top underneath the title says, "The YouTuber has been at the center of a number of scandals, big and small. Unlike her contemporaries, Hanna offering an apology isn't getting her back in the good graces of her audience." Well, of course it's not getting her back in the good graces of her audience. She is yet to offer an apology. Even her apologies, with the exception of the video about Bianca Devins, had no apologies in them, except maybe to Beyonce. Other than the Bianca Devins video, I don't think I've ever heard Gabbie Hanna say I'm sorry. And even the Bianca Devins video was I'm sorry, but also look at those things the drama channels did. When I got to YouTuber Gabbie Hanna's $2.2 million Studio City home in Los Angeles last month, I rang the doorbell and was promptly told to let myself in. "Door's open," her boyfriend told me through the intercom. That's good manners. Their two cats sitting on a tall scratching post barely lifted their heads, leaving me to walk through Hanna's home on my own, hoping to find her. Well, I don't think their cats are leaving you to walk through her home. I think it's Gabbie and Peyton. It just sounds, the way that that's written sounds like she's expecting the cats to guide her. She wasn't in the living room, which had a framed print of the word written in cursive sitting next to an emerald couch.
classy.
She wasn't in one of the 2 recording studios in her home where she records her podcast, Burnout with Gabbie Hanna. Really, how often does she record that? One of which is decorated with awards from YouTube and a framed printout of her placement on the New York Times bestseller list. She has published 2 poetry collections, 2017's Adultolescence and 2020's Dandelion. Yeah, we know. I finally found her. How long did that take? I finally found her upstairs in her bedroom getting her makeup done for our photo shoot, wearing cutoff jeans and a vintage Queen t-shirt, of course. While her publicist, the makeup artist, and the photographer's assistant made a semicircle around her. We made awkward small talk for a few minutes before Hannah turned to us and said, "Okay, this is a question for the room. What's your most embarrassing moment?" And even though she hadn't met any of us before, including her new publicist, she hadn't met her new publicist? I'm very confused about the way this article is written. Even though she hadn't met any of us before, including her new publicist. What? Who at no point during the day would allow me to speak to Hannah alone. This was the first thing that stood out to me when I read this article. At no point during the day was Gabbie Hanna allowed to sit down alone with the author of this article alone. That says a few things to me. She hired a good publicist. She is 30 years old and cannot be trusted to sit down with another adult and have a conversation without becoming a PR nightmare. That's really sad. That, I mean, essentially, yes, that's what you pay a publicist for, but like the action the publicist is taking is so extreme, which is, again, good. But like a 30-year-old shouldn't need to be babysat in order to keep themselves out of trouble. Like, sincerely. One told her about a recent blackout, another about an awkward interaction with a crush. And you? Hannah asked me. I mean, come on, buy a girl a drink first. What? Buy a girl a drink first? It's weird to me that that is a conversation being had. I understand it's like an icebreaker. But it also feels to me, just judging by Gabbie's like past, present, probably future behavior, it feels like a way to gain sort of an upper hand with the people that she's with, because it humanizes everybody and gives her the opportunity to perhaps feel in some way superior. But that's just spitballing. Such is the way 30-year-old Hannah has lived her life for the last 7 or so years. Perennially online and eager, did I say that word right? Perennially? Why can't I make that word make sense? Whatever. And eager to tell you everything that's ever happened to her. First, she was on Vine, where she made a name for herself through her comedy bits in 2013, which later got her a few nominations at the Teen Choice Awards in 2016. It feels like a really big jump in years. In 2014, she debuted The Gabbie Show on YouTube, which picked up steam in 2017, coming up alongside fellow creators like Lily Singh, Liza Koshy, and David Dobrik. I'm sure Gabbie loves a comparison to Liza Koshy. She gained a following by making personality-driven videos with her creator friends and storytime videos about her own life. Hannah was briefly a video fellow at BuzzFeed in 2015, though we never had interacted before our interview. At the height of her popularity with millions of followers on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, she was nominated for YouTuber of the Year at the 2018 Shorty Awards.
Wow.
But these days, Hannah's YouTube page is largely dormant. Her subscribers are down to around 5.7 million. In the last month alone, she's lost 30,000 subscribers. I cannot imagine why. Her latest video has just under 244,000 views, a precipitous drop compared to videos posted a year earlier like My Very Dark Childhood, which has 1.3 million views, or Trying Lip Filler for the First Time, which has 2.4 million views. In the last 5 months, she's posted just one video, a cover of Alanis Morissette's You Oughta Know. A cover is being generous. And by the way, one of those videos with all those millions of views is clickbait. And also, we use Gabbie's name, we get millions. She gets also millions.
Millions.
Her dwindling subscriber base has no doubt been the result of a series of swift and unending controversies. I'm sorry, I hate to pick apart the writing here because I'm not literally a writer, but like swift and unending feels contradictory to me. Also makes it sound like these things are happening to her rather than her propagating them herself. but whatever. First, in 2017, people criticized Hanna for making a video about a classmate who died of a drug overdose without consulting the family first. Hanna apologized in a follow-up video. Yeah, she did apologize in a follow-up video, both of which are monetized. Then in 2018, she promoted a free, except for shipping, set of makeup brushes that people claimed were poorly made, began shedding after the first use, and in some cases, never actually showed up after orders were placed. But instead of apologizing, she blamed her audience. Are they these amazing, high-quality, can't even believe it, great brushes? Hanna said in a response video while doing her makeup with the offending brushes. Was she using cosmetic brushes in that video? I don't remember. Maybe. I won't pull the critique here because I don't remember. No, I also never said they were. I'm not sure what quality people were expecting when they paid $10 for 10 brushes. Okay, I feel like the author missed the part where she actually blamed her audience because we all know that the infamous line from Gabbie Hanna is,
manage your expectations a little bit.
that is blaming her audience. You know, the thing is, is that whether or not Gabbie wants to technically call the Kinds of Cosmetics situation a scam, the point of the controversy and the point that she never understood about the controversy was that she had a group of young, impressionable fans who trusted her and trusted her advocating for this company and saying, these people are trustworthy, this is the product you're going to get. Because when it was advertised with brushes with a quality of $80 value when they were actually brushes that you could get on AliExpress for hella cheap. They were fucking garbage, and she promoted it. And it's okay to promote something and like not having looked into it. Like, I feel like every YouTuber has done it at some point. It's okay to have an oversight in your career, but like own up to it, because at the end of the day, she tricked kids, but with her endorsement ended up tricking children and young adults using their money or their parents' money to buy a product that was not what it said it was, perhaps didn't even arrive, and then told them to manage their expectations a little bit of the product. So the reason that stands out, and we'll put a pin in this because she's gonna come back to the fact that everybody brings up old controversies to talk about new scandals, and that's because there's never closure to these situations. There's not closure to the Kinds of Cosmetics scandal because Gabbie Hanna never owned up to it. She owned up to the parts of it that she felt were necessary, but she didn't own up to the actual problem, and we'll come back to that. Then in 2019, Hanna allegedly told Trisha Paytas' then boyfriend Jason Nash that the fellow YouTuber had herpes. Paytas denied the accusation. That's all they wrote about what happened between Gabbie and Trisha Paytas. A minute part of that scandal, I don't remember if this comes back, so I'm just gonna say this here. A minute part of that scandal was that Gabbie told Jason Nash and David Dobrik that Trisha Paytas had herpes. The grander scale was that Gabbie Hanna told her 3 million Instagram followers that Trisha Paytas had herpes. How we missed that angle, author of this BuzzFeed article, I do not know. Hanna also had to apologize for tweeting, "If I could be any animal, I'd be a Beyonce." And then in 2019, she became embroiled in her most serious controversy. Jessie Smiles, whose real name is Jessie Vasquez, accused her ex-boyfriend Curtis Lepore of her in 2013. She later claimed that Hanna had continued to stay friends and collaborate with him. Smiles filed charges in 2014 and dropped them a month later when Lepore pleaded guilty to felony assault. Lepore did not respond to my interview request, and Smiles declined to comment for this story. Of course she did, because this is in the past. This is a story that involves her sexual assault. She is currently married, pregnant, and has a child. Leave her the fuck alone. And this goes for like literally everyone. Can we please leave Jessie Smiles the fuck alone when we're talking about Gabbie Hanna? Don't tag her in stuff. Like, don't bring her into situations, because at the end of the day, I think I just spit. But at the end of the day, the only thing that you are fucking doing, why am I yelling? It's 8 o'clock in the morning. The only thing that you are doing is giving this girl back her trauma to relive over and over again. Have a little tact. Maybe don't reach out to the rape victim who probably doesn't want to talk about this for an article about Gabbie Hanna. Like, I don't know. Soon thereafter, Hanna was labeled a rape apologist by the public. Fellow creators and followers turned on Hanna, who was once considered sincere and emotionally intimate with her audience, and began calling her calculating and manipulative. Really? Who didn't I apologize to, Hanna told me after we sat in her backyard. Literally everyone except the family of Bianca Devins. That's who. Maybe Beyonce. I don't really remember the video. But yeah, no, there haven't been any apologies. Like, the words "I'm sorry," I don't believe I've ever heard Gabbie Hanna say those words. I gave Jessie Smiles an apology. Bitch, where? Where? You gave explanations, you gave excuses, you gave a reminder that you don't have her blocked on any social media. There was no apology. I gave Beyonce an apology. I don't know, I'm not gonna go fact check that one. It feels like I'm always dishing out apologies and I've never once received one, and that to me feels a little chaotic. Apologies are not something you give out with hopes of reciprocity. Apologies are things you give out because you're fucking sorry. YouTubers are constantly apologizing for their public gaffes. Makeup experts have practically created a sub-industry with their crying mea culpas alone. Hanna isn't unique in making very public mistakes, handling them poorly, and then having to backtrack. See James Charles, Jeffree Star, Tana Mongeau, David Dobrik, Laura Lee, Manny MUA, Shane Dawson, and truly I could go on.
Truly.
Just like the others, some of Hanna's apologies seem sincere and some really don't. One of them was sincere. But unlike her YouTube peers, Hanna hasn't been able to bounce back after an apology video or time off social media. Perhaps because a sizable chunk of her audience is absolutely not buying that she's sorry for anything. Yeah, accurate. Perhaps. She can't move forward because they won't let her. Everything she posts is another reason for them to bring up the exploited dead teen, the allegations of being a rape apologist, the molting makeup brushes. If people aren't taking shots at her in the comments of her TikTok videos, then they're making memes of her. I honestly just want to be left alone, Hanna said, but they just can't resist. Okay, hold on. There's a whole lot to unpack here. Hanna hasn't been able to bounce back after an apology video or time off social media. Yeah, the thing is that none of her apology videos are apology videos. They are explain it away videos. They're never, I'm sorry, I was wrong. They are, I'm sorry you feel that way. And no, she can't move forward. And yes, people are bringing these things up because, again, I know I made this point earlier, but I want to drive it home. If you are not making amends, if you are not actually apologizing, if you are not actually speaking on the point of the issue, of why people are upset, of who you hurt and what hurt, and the damage that you've done, and then making those amends, and then actually actively changing and not continuing that behavior, then you're not going to have any type of closure in that situation. It's still going to be an open-ended thing that people are going to remember because you never fixed it. You never came at the actual problem. You never said you were wrong. You never said that you were sorry. You never actually seemed sorry. So of course no one's gonna let you move forward because these things are still a problem. You can't just hop on camera and explain away all your problems and give everybody a reason why you acted like a dick and then expect everyone to forgive you and fucking pre-save your new single. It doesn't fucking work like that. You don't get to take people over time and time and time again and then like go, oops, and then expect it to be fine. Like, it doesn't work like that.
If you do something and a very large group of people are upset, you might want to rethink that maybe, just maybe, you're wrong about this one. You don't get to decide if you're an asshole. You can't go around doing whatever you want and then just end it with, I'm not an asshole.
If I punched your dad in the face, I wouldn't. But if I did, I punched your dad in the face. And you were like, I can't believe you punched my dad in the face. And instead of saying, I'm so sorry, I don't know what came over me, but I was unequivocally wrong, and let me know how I can make this up to you guys. I'll pay for the hospital bills to fix his face. But instead of coming at it honestly, I said,
look, I was going through it, and I just, you know, your dad made one snide remark and it just set me off, and I had all these other things going on, and oh man. Anyway, you want to get some ice cream?
that's not fixing the situation. That's not addressing the situation. It's making an excuse for the situation. That was a really weird example, but I think you get the point. Finally, I just want to be left alone, but they just can't resist, is the most Gabbie Hanna thing I've ever heard Gabbie Hanna say. If you want to just be left alone,
Get off the internet!
you don't want to be left alone. If you wanted to be left alone, you could make the conscious decision to go get a fucking job application at McDonald's and get off the goddamn internet. Because this is gross. They just can't resist. I have made a lot of Gabbie Hanna videos on this channel. If you think that's overkill, that's fine. The thing is, I can resist. But you know what? This person who wants to be left alone insists on remaining on the internet with a considerable influence over young people. And for me, that's a problem, because she is a walking case study of what not to do with a platform, as an adult, as a human being who communicates with other human beings. The allegations levied against Hanna range from the tedious makeup brushes to the sincerely awful ignored her friend's alleged rape. But they're not worse than those about any of her often male counterparts. You know, you can write an article without all of these parentheses. They're not worse than those about any of her often male counterparts. So we're turning this into a sexist thing now. This is misogyny that Gabbie Hanna is being dragged across the coals. It's not her bad choices and shit behavior. It's gonna be misogyny. Is that what we're going with? Okay, great. She's a manipulative asshole. Yeah, take a number. She's insincere. Who isn't? YouTube helps the worst of humanity float to the top and rewards them for their worst behavior. Take, for instance, Logan Paul, who recorded a dead body in a forest in 2017. Said he was sorry and now makes $150,000 for one Facebook post. Yeah, but Logan Paul, and I've never anticipated sitting here defending Logan Paul. Whether or not I've never watched any of his content, but whether or not I agree with him on anything, whether or not I like what he does, Logan Paul, as someone who's not even a viewer, I can see that he's changed. Regardless of how you feel about his apology, he said he was sorry. Like, he actually said he was sorry. And he actually made strides a little bit. I'm not gonna get into the way he's defending his brother with essay allegations or anything like that, but, you know, aside from any of that, I feel like Logan Paul is actually, like, you know, grown as a person. It's kind of sad, actually, that Logan Paul seems to be more mature than Gabbie Hanna. So why should Hanna be treated any differently? I started on YouTube being a dramatic, loudmouth, confrontational storyteller, and that was the version of me everybody loved, she told me. At some point, I started hiding in myself and being silenced because I was so afraid of what people would say. That's not being silenced. Being afraid of what people would say about you is not being silenced. I didn't have anyone backing me. I just want to be my fucking self. Okay, you can be yourself, but you also have to be okay with the fact that people might not like you. That's life. And you also have to deal with the fact that if who she is now is who she is, then for years, people bought into her public persona. So what you have to understand is that when you are yourself, that you open up the door for your audience who has known you as one thing to not follow you, so to speak, on your journey, or continue to watch you because they might not like you because it's not what they signed up for or subscribed for, if you will. On her bedroom walls hang 2 framed portraits of Freddie Mercury. One of her cats is even named Freddie Percury. The other one, Radio Gaga. Hanna loves Queen, loves Mercury's music, but she specifically admires his I don't give a shit attitude. I like looking up interviews where he's telling people off, she said. I love that Gabbie Hanna saw Bohemian Rhapsody and then just like ran with the Queen thing. I watched as she put on a strapless black leather dress, a clear raincoat, a lucite bow tie, and treacherously high clear heels for the shoot. Hanna applied a dual tone lip, red on top and black on the bottom, something she's trying to make her signature look. Okay. She smiled at herself in the mirror and teased her hair. Everyone made fun of Freddie Mercury too. Girl, you are not comparing yourself to Freddie Mercury. Oh my
God.
The delusion is
Real.
Hanna grew up in suburban Pennsylvania and is the third of 6 children. Her father is Lebanese, her mother French and Polish. She said she had a tough upbringing. Her parents were both incredibly young when they had her, and according to her, she nearly fell into homelessness a few times as a child. And that's something she's still unpacking. Hanna also said she has a long history of being bullied as a child, an experience that she still deals with online from her former friends as well as total strangers. Aww.
What is it, you manipulative, narcissistic bitch? You fucking sick, twisted bitch. Like, that's how much she doesn't shut the fuck up about me.
You know, like a misogynistic, disgusting piece of shit who acts as if he could have a chance with me anyway.
That's what narcissistic abuse is.
It's true. Some of the things people say to her online are ghastly. You know what? When she posts a semi-nude selfie, she's mocked and derided. Her nose is a near constant source of inspiration for the cruelest digs from her audience. I get all these comments of people talking about my nose, saying I'm the Fruit Loop bird, that's called a toucan, and his name is Toucan Sam, thank you, and calling me Pinocchio and shit. She said, I can't say something about that. Yeah, you can absolutely say something about that. Please do. But show me those comments and show me where you're responding to those comments. Because at the end of the day, Gabbie Hanna doesn't respond to the comments about her nose or about her looks or the fact that she's half naked on Instagram. She responds to the comments that are thoughtful and actually critical of her and her work. She doesn't respond to the ones about her nose. And honestly, it's been probably 6 months to a year since I've seen a comment about her nose. So I'd love to see it. Hanna admits that she hasn't been on her best behavior in the past. Of course I was a fucking asshole, she said. I have a fucking neurological disorder that was unchecked and I wasn't taking care of my mental health. Of course. It's not just that you were an asshole. We have a diagnosis now, so that explains it. She says she's recently gotten a diagnosis for ADHD and CPTSD, or complex post-traumatic stress disorder. People throw it around a lot and say, oh, I'm ADHD, when you're getting a little bit restless or fidgety. But it's a lot more than that, she said, adding that the disorder causes her to be impulsive and affects her short-term memory. Despite considering herself neurodivergent, she was called out for being ableist in a March tweet dismissing tone indicators, tags used for neurodivergent people who might have difficulty inferring tone online. Part of being neurodivergent is being impulsive and not fully thinking through decisions, she told me. I think people have a hard time differentiating between making an excuse and trying to explain yourself. Yeah, I think you do too, because you're making excuses. You are literally hiding behind your diagnosis to say, of course I was an asshole. My mental health did it. Hanna said her impulsivity keeps getting her in trouble, going all the way back to 2018 when she was promoting those flimsy makeup brushes. Whatever people want to discredit me on, whatever my current thing is, they go back to the beginning and say, remember you scammed your fans? Kind of vibe. She told me about the backlash. Yeah, again, because you didn't apologize. It's not a case closed unless you fix the problem. She seems to understand that her approach to dealing with controversies could be better. That was a really bad response, she said, about her response to the makeup brush fiasco. Part of the problem was not having a good team at the time. No! Part of the problem is that you can't admit when you're wrong. You can't even admit when you're wrong about being wrong. Part of the problem was not having a good team at the time and not having a ton of life experience. I went from being a drunk college kid to having a lot of followers and a lot of responsibility. And I was so defensive because I was already getting made fun of because I was a meme. No! No! No, no, you don't get to claim ignorance on being a drug college kid, getting followers over a period of time, and then because you're getting made fun of because you're a meme. No, you made a bad response to your Kenza Cosmetics scandal because you made a bad response. You are bad at taking accountability. Period. Full stop. When you get a lot of hate, it's hard to sift out what's hate and what's valid. I needed to learn a lot. You still do. You still very much do. For a time, the worst thing you could call Gabbie Hanna was a scammer, an irresponsible agent of capitalism who was only out to make money for herself, even if it meant her fans went home with shoddy sponsored products. But then came the apologist claims, which have continued to dog her. Yeah, I'm not going to rehash that. Out of respect for Jessie Smiles, I'm not going to rehash that. YouTuber Jessie Smiles accused her ex-boyfriend Curtis Lepore of her in 2013 while she was asleep recovering from a concussion. Smiles and Hanna were once real-life friends and YouTube collaborators, but in 2019, Smiles made a video accusing Hanna of staying friends with Lepore even after she'd heard about the allegations. One of the things that I believe you never do, even if you hate someone now, Smiles says in her video through tears, is hang out with their friends. Again, Smiles declined a request for comment, and Lepore did not respond to multiple requests for comment. Even Curtis Lepore declined a request for comment, which says enough about Gabbie Hanna, I think. Stop, for the love of God, reaching out to Jessie Smiles for comment. Leave her the fuck alone. Hanna denied that she was ever Lepore's friend. She said she had always believed what Smiles had said about her ex-boyfriend. You have to really try to not give a fuck what people say if it's not true. Yeah, see, that's the thing. I agree with that. Except my thing was, if someone is saying you're a rape apologist, if someone said I was a rape apologist, that would be something that I would defend myself in the real way, not in the way I get on the internet and call everybody a bitch. I would defend my character because that's a serious allegation. And if that were really, really untrue, I would want people to know that it was really, really untrue, regardless of whether or not I cared about what they thought. Every time I put out a project, it's instantly completely shut down by people starting a new rumor that day. Honey, no. You have been kicking up shit every single time you've released something for the past year at least.
Period.
Am I going to live like that forever, or am I going to do whatever the fuck I want because you're going to hate me anyway? Yeah, you're doing that. I don't understand the issue. I don't know the truth about Hanna and Lepore, but I do know she has consistently handled criticism poorly. Yeah, that's an understatement. Unlike other YouTubers who behave much, much, much more poorly, why are we doing this? Hanna actually replies to her detractors' comments. What? How are those two things related? Unlike other YouTubers who behave much, much, much more poorly. I don't like that sentence structure. Hanna actually replies to her detractors' comments. Those are two unrelated thoughts. What point are you making? That she's replying to her criticism, or that she's not as bad as other creators? That sentence structure makes no sense. And when she does, it's easy to assume she's hungry for the engagement. After all, she ultimately benefits from it. But what's frustrating is that she's trying to have it both ways, to relish in being the most hated person online, like a Logan or Jake Paul, while also being sensitive about it, like David Dobrik, who has not returned to online life since his apology video in March. That feels like I know about David Dobrik, and I'm going to put it in these parentheses. David Dobrik is not being sensitive about anything. He left the internet, as he well should. But I do agree with the author. She is trying to have it both ways. She's trying to be all hard and fuck with me, but also like, I don't understand why scandals happen. In June 2020, while recording an episode of her podcast Box of Thoughts, Hanna went on an hour-long rant, clearly upset about how she's been treated by her colleagues, her former friends, and her most hostile followers. She took particular umbrage at people who mocked her for seeming unstable.
You're going to talk about my mental health as if I'm having a mental breakdown because you gaslighted and mentally abused me for fucking months because you spread a one-sided narrative that you knew was filled with fucking lies for months, and now I'm talking about it and I'm losing my mind? Fuck you! Fuck all these people for what they've done to me. And for them to be tweeting right now that I'm playing the victim, I am the fucking victim. These are bullies. These are high school fucking bullies.
That last line, high school fucking bullies, was memed 1,000 times over. Hanna, ever savvy, tried to benefit from that too. She made t-shirts. Yeah, we know. Tired of the relentless controversies, Hanna has mostly pivoted away from YouTube. In many ways, she had to. She's now focusing on her music, but even her pivot has come with its own issues. In 2018, she did an interview with Genius, breaking down her song Monster. Thanks to an audio glitch, yeah, an audio glitch, like not being able to... Her vocals came out distorted. This led to a million memes of Hanna scream singing the word monster, augmented with visuals like American Idol judges saying no over and over, or with her voice replaced by the Windows XP startup sound. I like that one the best. You know what I'm really grateful for? She asked me during our interview, all these people that came out and told stories about me. I'm so glad that didn't happen when I'm famous. Like, imagine that coming out when I'm nominated for a Grammy.
Oh my God.
I can't wait till you're nominated for a Grammy for scream singing in your bathroom. In 2019, she released her debut album, Two-Way Mirror. A second, more rock-focused album is on the way. You also forgot she put out another EP called Bad Karma. Even I know that. Then there are the reactions to her two poetry collections, both of which became New York Times bestsellers but have largely been panned by reviewers because they're garbage. One Goodreads review of Adultolescence says, absolutely one of the worst garbage fire pieces of trash I've ever read. A sampling from the book. What is a monster, if not just an animal? We don't know. Yeah, that book, that sampling from the book is actually, it was by Gabbie's own admission about closeted gay people, and it referred to them as monsters, which was gross. Her latest fight, in fact, is with Rachel Oates, a UK-based YouTube book reviewer. Oates, who has 229,000 subscribers, is known for her scathing reviews of influencers' books. Oh, so you've never watched a Rachel Oates video? She's not scathing. She speaks from a literary standpoint because it's her passion, it's what she does, and that's her job. She's made a lot of videos about Hanna, including a multi-part series about adultolescence, which has a cumulative 2.1 million views. Yeah, it's multi-part. I'd like to just point out that that series is multi-part because Rachel is thorough and wanted to review it fully. Okay? Despite this, in what seemed like a rather shrewd attempt to keep the buzz going, Hanna sent Oates her second book. It worked. Oates' review of Dandelion, currently at just over 674,000 views, yeah, Gabbie Hanna gets you millions of views, is similarly brutal. I actually think I'd go so far as to say that most of the poems in here are worse than Adultolescence, Oates says at one point. She even wrote her own parody of Hanna's book from her dog's point of view called Dogolescence, Poems by Kira the Staffy. Yeah, it's not a parody of her book, it's a parody of her writing style. In response, Hanna went on a screed, I've never heard that word before in my life, against Oates on her Instagram stories in April. She called Oates narcissistic and toxic. She also called her a sick, twisted bitch, but you seem to have left that out. Many of the same words used against Hanna herself over the last 5 years. She's not a fucking artist. I don't care about her fucking opinion because she has no accomplishment in art, Hanna said in her stories. I accept my criticism from talented, smart people, not abusive, toxic, exploitative bullies on YouTube. You're a fucking monster. Yeah. She accepts her criticism from her echo chamber, who are too afraid to tell her when her art is garbage. Hanna's Instagram screed, what is that word? I mean, I can infer what it means, but what a weird word. Hanna's Instagram screed about Oates was made long after her review of Dandelion went live. She claims this too was strategic. I never start drama to support stuff, but if there is drama, I will capitalize on that opportunity to promote something. I'm going to take advantage of a moment. So she doesn't start drama. Okay. To everyone who made the point that Gabbie Hanna can take as long as she wants to process however she feels about a review that was made about her book, I agree. She sure can. But again, she can't have it both fucking ways. You cannot sit here and say, I don't start drama, but if drama's already there, absolutely, I'm going to capitalize on it. Drama wasn't there. That video was released months prior. It was a review, not a hate campaign. It wasn't drama, and you jumped on it anyway. And not only did you jump on it, you jumped on it so hard that you took several people out of the game for a period of time emotionally. And for Rachel, physically, because your fans spammed her Instagram and false flagged it so hard that it took it down. The amount of like in the same breath saying like, I don't start drama, but like if it's there, I'm gonna capitalize on it. How did it get there? Why am I yelling? Indeed, she started releasing new music a few weeks after reigniting this fight. Thank you to the author of this for pointing out that she herself reignited this fight. When I asked Hannah about how she chose to handle the Dandelion review, she said she's fine with criticism, she just wants it to be constructive. Everything about what Rachel said was constructive. Aside from maybe a few light jabs here and there, which I'm sorry, but to keep things light, people make jokes. It was entirely constructive. Her channel is built around constructive criticism. She offered where you could do things better. She offered where things were good. If you're going to continue to harass me, no one was harassing you, and publish a book mocking me, she was mocking your writing style, whatever, me too, I can play the game. I'm not going after a poetry critic. Yeah, you literally are. There are people who have given my books negative review on Goodreads, but she's not a critic. Neither are people on Goodreads. Any asshole can sign into Goodreads and leave a review. She's calling me some bitch on the internet. No, that was a manipulated clip that one of your stans made. It was a joke, and she was referring to herself as a bitch on the internet, but good try. Having her dog write a poem. Actually, she had her dog write a whole book, and she donated all the proceeds to the shelter where she adopted her dog. I wasn't able to find a source for Oates calling her a bitch. Oh, I can.
Asked me to write a poem. Now, mate, can't do it. I'd be screwed. I'm not a poet. Knowing these words doesn't make you a poet. Makes you a bitch on the internet, like me. No, I'm joking. I'll be honest though, I do quite like the premise of this poem.
But Hannah did call her one in her Instagram stories in April, which I also asked her about. She is a bitch, she said before laughing and turning to her publicist. Should I not have said that? Yeah, because she's not a bitch. She criticized your work fairly and thoroughly, and you didn't like that because she's smart and she actually knows what she's talking about. You threw poems together on a page and think you're superior to everyone. Oates declined a request for an interview, but she provided a brief statement that said, in part, Gabbie's behavior towards me and others is shocking and upsetting, but my work speaks for itself, and anyone who watches my videos or even reads my book, which parodies her writing style in places, will see her claims are unsubstantiated. I have never harassed her. I have never called her names. I have never mocked the subject matter of her books. I have only critiqued the writing style and apparent laziness of her work. I hope Gabbie has her family and friends around her to support her, but I just want her to leave me alone. Yeah, that seems to be a theme. People who want Gabbie Hanna to leave them alone, so she refuses to leave them alone because boundaries are not a thing in Gabbie Hanna's world. If you're a Gabbie Hanna fan, then you likely believe that she's just really savvy, in total control of her image and using the villain role, now basically a trope among YouTubers, as a way to sell records, boost book sales, and jumpstart other projects. She doesn't disagree. I might as well do whatever the fuck I want because guess what? The views are up. You're gonna listen to the fucking album because it's about shit that you guys want to hear about. You're going to watch my series. You're going to read my book. You're going to fucking obsess over every movie that I do. Oh, we're doing movies now, are we? You're going to fucking pay for my Patreon to see my private content, she said. Wow. You know, you'd think after so long of covering Gabbie Hanna so closely, I would be, unable to be surprised by things. I am never not surprised by the abject arrogance and behavior, mindset, attitude of Gabbie Hanna. Because at some point, your audience is going to grow up. You won't, but your audience will. And that's why they outgrow you. And they're not going to be seeing your movie or buying your book or listening to your music or paying for your fucking Patreon forever. Because at some point, other people grow up and they realize how petulant and infantile your behavior and your content is. She also said that she's finally able to just be herself online. Her TikTok is mostly videos of her dancing, lip syncing, or singing in the shower. She has nothing to lose. I finally feel like I'm in control. Yeah, every goddamn 6 months. She said, "It's a lot easier to cope with people hating you when you're fanning the flames." In the world of young, unregulated online creators, no one lives up to being any kind of moral authority. Hanna was possibly a bad friend, and she might have spread rumors, but she's part of an industry full of adult children who are often rewarded for bad behavior. How about "and she's part of an industry full of adult children who are often rewarded for bad behavior"? On YouTube, being an asshole is a moneymaker. Take PewDiePie. The site's highest paid creator in 2016 was used anti-Semitic rhetoric, which he has said is a misunderstanding. Okay. Take him. What? What's the point? We covered the anti-Semitic rhetoric. Why are we bringing up PewDiePie? There are so many problematic creators right now. Why are we bringing up... Hanna ultimately suffers from the same problem most YouTubers and people do, which is that she's flawed. But it's also clear that she might be held to a higher standard than her fellow creators. Fuck that! No. 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 In 2017, she alleged that YouTuber Rice Gum had assaulted her at a party. This article is all over the place. At a party, after she had goaded him about having a ghostwriter. It seemed that nobody believed her, though he did admit to grabbing her phone and breaking it. Hanna also told me about a prank home invasion video that was filmed for YouTube and how she fully believed that her friends were being attacked by a masked intruder with a baseball bat. As I think you know, with the vlogging community, the longer you do it, the more extreme shit has to get in order to get the views. Yeah, only in the vlog squad. Or like if you're Jake Paul. She claimed the video's ending had to be reshot because her original reaction was so severe that it couldn't be reliably used for laughs online. Hanna declined to say who had made the home invasion video, though it's still online. It was David Dobrik, who did not reply to a repeated request for comment. Yeah, I don't think he would. While it's hardly a feminist stance to demand that a woman be allowed to act as poorly and crudely as her male counterparts without repercussions, it certainly seems unfair. Fuck you. She's held more accountable than, say, Jeffree Star, who's been accused of sexual assault, violence, and bribery. Star has denied these claims. Yeah, because those are completely different things. And I'm sorry, but Jeffree Star is being held accountable by most of the internet. But sexual assault, violence, and bribery are things that have legal ramifications if you're holding them actually accountable and saying that these are things that this person has done. Like, those are crimes. The kind of caustic energy that once made Hanna fun to watch is now a liability for her. Imagine you had a friend 6 years ago who to this day is contacting your employers, contacting everyone you know and trying to ruin your reputation, she told me, referring in part to Paytas. I lost sponsors, I lost a record deal, I lost my friends. Hanna estimates that between 2019 and 2020, she lost between $5 million and $10 million in revenue between AdSense sponsorship deals and a record label contract with a company she declined to name. So it's Trisha Paytas' fault that you lost $5 to $10 million in sponsorships, AdSense, and a record label contract. It wasn't your shit behavior. It wasn't you tagging Trisha in a post claiming that she had herpes and then writing a song about her against her wishes and genuinely treating people like shit. It wasn't any of that.
Stop it. Get some help.
It wasn't your behavior. It wasn't your choices. It was Trisha Paytas' fault. They did this to you, and wow.
That's what narcissistic abuse is.
She's now signed with 45 records, which is also licensing her back catalog. I do believe 45 is sort of like the MLM of the record label world, if I'm not mistaken. Hanna doubts she'll ever return to YouTube full-time, even though she has a new representative and newfound acceptance of her reputation. Sure she does. Now she's focusing on offline pursuits. She wants to move to Hawaii and start a company that sells candles and cards. Okay. Her priority is making music. She's finishing her second album. It's actually her first album. An EP is not a full album. Which she describes as rock and emo. Maybe in the future, she said, she'll work for a record company and discover and sign new talent. Yeah, you gotta have an ear for that first. I don't think I'm gonna want to be an artist forever. I'm tired. Yeah, well, you know, you can be an artist without the bullshit that you bring on yourself. Actually, most people do art that way. She worries about the money drying up and about the mortgage she has to pay. She worries about what she'll do if being a creator doesn't work out. I have this fear that, okay, if I spend this much money here, if I make the wrong move, I'll lose everything and I'll have to sell my house and maybe I'll be homeless again, she said. All these irrational fears. I don't think those are irrational fears. I think those are very rational fears. But even if music didn't work out the way YouTube didn't work out the way I was hoping, I'll be fine. I'll figure it out. Hanna gazed out over her property at the plunge pool, the swings hanging from the cabana, the lounge chairs in front of the kitchen doors. 7 years after moving to LA to make it, she's now an island, whether that's what she wanted or not. I'll always be okay, she said. That's my newfound freedom. Like me or don't. I don't. This article was an exhaustive read in Feel Bad for Gabbie Hanna. And the thing is, writing anything about internet personalities or internet culture is difficult, and I will give it to the author on that, because they are all such nuanced situations with so much information. And the thing is that even making videos like this, there's always something that somebody saw that maybe I didn't see, you know, so you never really have a full picture, and you never will, likely, because of that very fact. But what we're not gonna do is make excuses for someone who has repeatedly displayed the same consistently bad behavior and who is not actually remorseful about it, but who is more concerned about sweeping it under the rug and moving on and being permitted to move on. I mean, it's nothing we didn't know. It's nothing, there's no new information in it with the exception of Gabbie wanting to move to Hawaii to sell candles. This article, in my opinion, in the writing style, in the timeline aspect, and in the reaching out to Jessie Smiles for comment aspects, was trash. The insinuation that her backlash is somehow fueled in misogyny and sexism, that needs to be re-examined, because I think that's absolute bullshit. As a staunch feminist, I'd like to say that I think that's absolute bullshit. This video has been extremely long. If you made it to the end, thank you so much. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Did I miss anything that we should have called out here? Please let me know in the comments. This was a lot. This is a lot for 8 o'clock in the morning. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please feel free to give it a like. If you didn't like this video, whatever. Do whatever the hell you want. Treat yourself to a nice egg cream. Subscribe. I make videos whenever I feel like it. All of my social media is linked below. All I ask is that you not be an asshole. Have a good one. And I'll see you in the next one.